All right, we're here with Fight Club. I almost forgot. Let's just get started.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts on the movie. I thought it was really, really well done. My mind kept racing throughout the entire film. I was never disinterested in the plot, and the big twist at the end. As soon as that's revealed, you just go back to all the shots that seemed a little bit off to you initially, and I just think that's a great example of how foreshadowing is supposed to be done.
Yeah,
I think that was my biggest takeaway from the movie.
For sure, and that was I know a couple of us, that was our first time. I don't know if that was your first time seeing that movie.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, me too, but it's definitely a classic that I've heard a lot of good things about, and obviously I've heard a lot of references to that movie. But that was my first time seeing it, and obviously it's really easy to see why there's so much hype. I thought that it was just going to be this underground, I knew it was about this underground boxing league, but I didn't know that there was actually a character that had this internal conflict going on. I thought it was literally just about Brad Pitt fighting dudes, and based on pictures that I've seen from clips of the movie. So the entire plot line was not at all what I was expecting, and given how old this movie is, I think that's really surprising that I had no idea what it was actually about. But it definitely was really easy to stay engaged the entire time. For sure, there's a lot going on.
And talking about how old the movie is, 20 years ago, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that long ago, but it was surprising to see how advanced some of the way they handled that sort of that mental the duality of consciousness and just the mental battle that the main character was going through.
Yeah.
And that was another surprising part. It was movie, maybe it was in the 90s, but it still handled these situations like it was a modern day movie.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see.
For sure.
Yeah. I guess subplots within it, the girl and just starting this Fight Club. I think those were all just really well utilized plot points. Sometimes you're kind of wondering okay, what is the point of where is this gonna go? Where is this gonna go? And I think it just at the end just all tied up in a knot really well.
Right, absolutely. And I feel like it's gonna be one that I'm gonna have to watch again to fully appreciate how everything ties in and the different connections that were made. But definitely they did a good job of even, I feel like I do have an okay understanding of a lot of the crossovers from those points. I haven't even watched it again, but I feel like if I did, then a lot of it would make a lot more sense, and there'd be a lot of that's obvious now kind of moments.
Yeah, and it's kind of and once you find out okay, Brad Pitt's character isn't real, it's all this kid, then you just think about all those times where it's oh yeah, that's going on, but the movie is still going on, so you don't really have too much time to dwell on it.
Right.
And you're kind of just all right, now I just got to see where this goes.
That was right when Brad Pitt's character was first introduced. Obviously, we saw him in the airport, once, kind of walking in the opposite direction, but he just kind of appeared next to the main character, in an airplane. And so I was when I first saw that, I was okay, this might just be he's the real person next to him. He's fantasizing to be somebody else or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of had this feeling that Brad Pitt wasn't actually supposed to be a real person when he was first introduced. But then the fact that they just had a real conversation, and it just seemed it just that suspicion immediately just was dismissed from my brain. I was okay, I guess he is just a random real dude.
Yeah. I kept thinking when there are those scenes that are just a little bit off, I always thought it was alluding to something else. Yeah. I was just kind of thinking about what it could be, but I never really thought about it as foreshadowing the twist. There one where Brad Pitt and that girl Marla are never in the same room.
Yeah.
I was okay, is that a reference to something old? And then when Brad Pitt was at the bottom of the staircase and he was at the top, and they were this conversation is over.
Yeah.
I thought about the
wow.
The guy who's really good with words, who he's ugly, and then he speaks for this other guy who isn't good with words.
Is that a different movie?
No, I think it's this old tale or something.
Oh, no.
But he's basically speaking for this other guy to this girl, he's in the bushes or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I was thinking about that, and obviously that's not the direction they were going in, but it just kind of made my mind like go to all these different places, which was pretty cool though. Like it was cool they were able to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of intentional, everything they did.
Yeah, and definitely it was just so dramatic, the difference between the two characters. Like I can't imagine, like I'm sure that there are people who have really dramatic and like internal struggles like that, where they're really like two extremely like polar forces pulling them in completely different directions. But it was just like so different that it just, the inner turmoil that like a person who's experiencing that must be feeling is just like, must just be immense.
Yeah.
I can imagine
Yeah,
what that'd be like.
Oh,
Hopefully still going.
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
But yeah, basically to sum it all up, it's just very great example of like how foreshadowing is done, like really disciplined with the plot and I guess like just the key details.
Yeah.
I'm sure like there were so many times like while they were filming it just to like, you know, keep things intact. They had to be really careful with, so very enjoyable movie.
Absolutely.
Yep. And I forget what the next movie is, but
Looking forward to it anyway.
We'll see.